Hey, hey, Million Dollar Agents. Welcome to episode 10 of my podcast. In this episode, we're going to interview Steve Dart, who's an absolute LinkedIn legend. And Steve's from Handwritten, but he's all about profile optimization, and he's going to teach us how to make our brand stand out from the rest.
Hey Sandra, thanks for inviting me onto your show. By the way, I do love it. I listened to episode 9 this morning, and it's absolutely fantastic podcast. And I'm from a sales background, so I'm not in commercial real estate, but I'm just taking so many good gold nuggets away. So thanks for everything you do.
Oh, thank you, Steve. I appreciate the feedback. Just not really sure who's listening to it, and hoping people are getting a lot of information out of it as we go. So, Steve, tell us about you. What do you do? What's your background?
All right. So I grew up in the action sports space and was lucky enough as a young guy coming through the scene. I got to work with Red Bull as one of their marketing support team, which was fantastic. And I was around about, when I signed up for LinkedIn, it was around about 2012, and I did it out of fear because someone sent me a connection request, and I was like, oh, what does this mean? And so I just went in and created a pretty dodgy profile. So that was around about the Red Bull days, and I didn't even use it for business back then. So from Red Bull, I ended up doing a little bit of traveling and came back and worked for a company called Prominence Global. And that was with a good friend of mine, Adam Houlihan, who I used to work with 20 years ago in a snow sports store. And I had been using LinkedIn to start generating some leads, and he'd seen that I'd actually done some really good profiling work, and I was helping a business that was a sports equipment company get their product into the Commonwealth Games just through LinkedIn and communicating and connecting with the key decision makers. And Adam said, would you like to come along? And he actually helped me learn to understand how to use the LinkedIn algorithm, and also how to use a connection request messaging sequence, and how to tailor your content and all the really good stuff. So I'm really a person that stands on the shoulders of other great people, but I actually love to learn and I love to listen, and I just apply and I execute. So that's why I've had such success.
Awesome. And LinkedIn, I love LinkedIn too, personally. I've been using LinkedIn, as we've just discovered, since 2006. So I think I may be the oldest person on the program. So as far as platform goes, people traditionally don't think of LinkedIn as social media. Would you say it's a social media platform, or is it just a business media platform?
I think it was a business media platform, but just recently, in the last few years, probably post-COVID, it's actually turned into more of a social media platform. Since everyone started to work from home as a place of business, and you could actually see people on Zoom calls, and they were actually sitting around in moccasins, and the dogs were running around their feet, you could tell that this was getting a bit more of a softer version of social. So I think I say pretty much it's a social platform, but it's got a very business slant to it.
Sure. And when you're talking about social media platforms, obviously the content's important, and that's obviously your specialization and is optimizing your content. So what do you think, if somebody's setting up a profile, what's the most important thing that they need to focus on first of all?
All right. The profile is one of the most important parts of your personal brand, okay? Because we're moving into a digital age now where you've got to have basically your personality has to show up virtually. Okay, so the most important thing on your profile is your profile photo. It has to be a photo, an up-to-date current photo of yourself. Should have a neutral background, and it should be not a photo of you elongated body-wise. It should be really up close where you can see the white of your eyes, because people look at that first to see if they're going to trust you. So that's a big important part. The second part on your profile is the banner. Now, the banner is really important. That most people might have a cityscape or anything, or a beach setting. The idea of the banner is because it's one of the most prominent visual assets on your profile. So you really want to have what we call message to market. Show people that are looking at you for a service that they are the people that you service, so they can sort of see them in that kind of imagery. And then also you want to have the text, in my opinion, that relates what you do, who you serve, and why it matters very clearly, because we're a community of lurkers and scanners. We don't read anything. We just want to see quickly in 3 seconds, is it worth hanging around? And if you can tell people what you do and the service you provide, they'll hang around, and they'll even investigate for another 10 seconds a bit further into your headline to see what you're all about. And do you help them?
Awesome. And just going back to the headshot, there's lots and lots of photos of people on LinkedIn, and I think, my goodness, I wouldn't do business with you in a pink fit, and mainly because they're not approachable. And I personally feel that things are changing and people want a more personal touch when it comes to doing business, and generally in life. So how do you feel about that too? Do you think a softer approach works more so these days, or do you think go for the hardcore cookie cutter professional photo?
Look, it's a professional website, so I'd go, you can be casual in a t-shirt and that kind of thing, but definitely a buttoned up shirt, and for a woman a big blouse. But definitely it's it's a nice smile, a nice open look. And I actually once was told by a gentleman who does a lot of headshots for LinkedIn at the C-suite sort of executives. He said, you always want to look like you're looking at a future version of yourself. And I thought that's really interesting. So definitely a really nice smile, nice wide open eyes, and just look like you're ready to be engaged with. You don't want to have sunglasses on. You don't want to be at the races. That's not the look you want. You want to
holding
turn
a fish.
Yeah, so you want to turn up professional. And it's funny because I had a gentleman that I did a little bit of work with, and he actually did that. He turned up with glasses on and his fishing vest on. And I said, look, you're a professional businessman. If someone's going to search you, you want to make sure that you're turning up and you look professional.
Yeah. Or the blurry headshot. I love that, the blurry one where you can't actually see their faces.
Yeah, it's definitely worth spending the money. I know you can get them shot on your iPhone, but definitely spend the money to get someone who does a professional headshot. It's really important.
Great. And so with the rest of your profile, what should you have in your headline?
All right. So in your headline, most people will put their position like CEO, manager. I recommend that because that headline is keyword rich and it's searching, but it also turns up in a few other places when you're posting content or you're connecting with people. It's really important that you put, once again, what your genius is and then how you help your customer. Like for mine example, I'll just pull mine up. I've got LinkedIn skills coach, which I am. So that's keyword rich. So when someone's searching for that, I'll be found. I've got lead generation expert. Well, I do that through the Send Handwritten Business. Client retention specialist. Well, I do that. So you see, they're searchable terms. Then I go straight into what we do that's going to change someone or get them to lean forward in. So I've got our clients get and hold the attention of difficult to reach decision makers, because that's what we do. And then I give them the result. Hey, we had 1 million in sales from clients in the last 6 months. So that's keyword rich. And plus it's following me around of all my positioning on LinkedIn. So when I'm doing a thoughtful comment on someone's post, that's coming up there, referencing me and also my photo. So they're like, oh, that's interesting. I might go have a look at his profile. If you can send people always onto your profile, that's the name of the game.
Awesome. Great advice. Thanks, Dave. Now, with your description of what you actually do and the About You section, a lot of people treat this section as a resume. Is that the right thing to do?
It used to be a place where you would store your resume on the internet, which was what LinkedIn was, but you definitely want to have it. Now, this can be a discussion point where some LinkedIn experts think you should write as the third person, but I believe that you should write in the first person, because this is a profile about you. You're building your brand image of you. So you don't want really, I think, to someone to speak on your behalf. You want to turn up saying, hi, I'm Steve. This is what I do, and then go into, how I have had past business success, what my goals are, what I'm trying to achieve, my currency, my claim to fame. But the main thing in regards to the profile is, I believe it's almost in the About section can identify the 3 problems that your clients face, and then the 3 solutions to those. So people get an understanding, okay, problem, solution, I can see that. And at the end of that, you want to always pose that they do something. So it can either, can you connect with me or follow me or give them a call to action. That's really important, so they know, okay, there's a next step for me to take on this.
And the featured section, under that section, a lot of people don't use this.
They don't. It's only just been recently rolled out in the last 18 months, but it's really important because the featured section can provide links and media and documents and that kind of thing. And it's the features section is the second part of your LinkedIn profile that has a visual aspect. You've got your headline banner, where there's an image, and then the features section pulls up an image. Everything else is just text related.
So that just stays there, right? That just stays there while your profile's sitting there until you change that feature.
Yep.
So it could be a link to a website, yes or no?
100%.
Okay.
What I normally say to my clients is it'd be great if you could expand your story and bring your brand to life and have a video that runs for about 90 to 120 seconds, and then you can then turn up and actually have the tonality of your speech or your visual aspect. And on that, I think videos are so important because they do tell a bit more of a deeper story and expand the story.
Awesome. I actually used my featured section for this podcast, and I think that was your idea, Steve.
Yeah,
was
fantastic.
It? Thank you for that.
That's okay.
I do get some click-throughs from my featured section. So there's another thing that I've only noticed recently where you can actually add services. Now, that might have been there since 2006, but I'm not really sure. But it's something that popped up recently where you can add a service that you do and then give that a headline as well, and then give it a description as to what's on offer. And it gives you some kind of like a drop-down menu where you can pick a tab as to what you want to do. For me, I do career coaching, and I've got a mentorship program. So you can actually pick that as part of a service. But I think depending on which category you're working in, there's probably a huge range of services that are available. So
that's right. Do you like using that service? Why did you pick that one out of all the ones of LinkedIn that you've got to use?
In terms of putting down the mentorship?
Yeah.
Because it's a new service I'm offering, and I don't think a lot of people were aware that I have that on offer.
That's
I
right.
mean, clearly I've been in commercial real estate for over 22 years. People are going to know that, if they need to sell a property or a project or lease a property or a project, that's what I do. Like, it's kind of embedded in my profile anyway. So I just wanted to do a bit of value add.
That's exactly right. And the good thing about the services page is you can invite up to 20 past clients to write a recommendation about you.
Great.
Yeah, so that's one of the most important
I love
parts
that
of
feature.
Yeah. Look, LinkedIn's one of those profile assets that you're always talking about what you're doing, but you need to look at things where your customers are saying, okay, but how was it after I engaged with this person? How was the service delivered? And it's then through the services pages and also your recommendations at the bottom of of your profile, which is really giving the viewer an insight to how your genius has really helped someone. So they're very important places to be.
All right, awesome. Now, so we've talked about setting up our profile. What should you actually be doing on LinkedIn? Like, on a daily basis, what is the best thing to do to keep your brand as a front of mind for your clients?
Sure. So what you want to try and do is you want to make sure that you're spending 20 minutes a day on LinkedIn. Now, you've got your main feed, and that's normally your first connections posting. So if you can actually add value to your first connection, so when they post, you put a nice sentence-long reply, and you tag them to say that, hey, this was really great, you wrote this. People want to post and then get feedback. So you can do the replying to the main feed post. You can also do connection requests. Try to connect with people in your second or third degree realm. You want to try and bring them onto your first degree. So whenever someone becomes a first degree, you see their content and they see yours. Okay, so you always want to try and connect with people. And then a little tip is, once you connect with them, you want to try and get them into a nurture sequence so you can get them onto your emails, because LinkedIn isn't your product. It's just it's an asset of Microsoft, and you want to make sure that you can capture as many of your connections outside of the LinkedIn world as well. So you want to get them online, but then take them offline for the email drip.
So that's the agenda. You need their email address.
Correct.
Fantastic.
Correct. Yep.
So how many people ideally should you be trying to connect to? Is there a set number?
Yeah, look, LinkedIn's got a maximum at the moment, about 20 per day.
Okay.
Is a maximum, and they're really sort of trying to stop the people, because you're really supposed to only connect with people you know, which is quite funny with LinkedIn, trying to build So you're supposed to connect with people you know and have their email address. But, how do you build your network if you're only talking to people you know? So I would say at least 20 per day. So that's 100 per week. And just whenever you send a connection request, just have something very soft and welcoming. You're not trying to connect and sell. LinkedIn isn't a place to sell anything. It's about how to build a network. Think of it as a 24/7 networking party. You want to walk around, you want to say, hi, how you going? This is me. What do? You know, you're trying to build your audience and get them into understanding what your genius is and how you could help them if that arose. So a really big part of the profile optimization is having all your skill sets and your genius and what you do and why it matters in that. But when you're when you're actually posting content or commenting, you're just adding value and you're giving them exposure points to your products and services. You're never selling.
I have over 6,000 connections on LinkedIn and I don't know all of them personally, I have to admit that. But I find you can get to anybody on LinkedIn, and that's why I started using it and loving it, because it was somewhere where, you know, you were always, there's no sort of 6 degrees of separation on LinkedIn. There's only really 3, isn't there?
Yeah, tell me about that. That's an interesting concept.
Yeah, so if you know someone that knows somebody, all you need to do is connect to that person, and eventually you're going to be able to get to the person you want to get to. So it's a bit cheeky, and you know, I do add a lot of people that I think are valuable to me. I did have a no agent policy though, and would you recommend that, not adding the competition as contacts, or do you think I'm barking up the wrong tree? I do add agents now because of I've kind of changed tact a little with the podcast, but is that something people should be mindful of?
Depends if you want them to really get to understand what you're doing, your IP, and also if you want them to see your content. Normally, I wouldn't suggest that you would contact them or connect with them. But look, it's just one of those things you test to measure and see how that works for you. I guess what I'd love to see with Sandra, with you being on LinkedIn for such a long time, how has it helped you within your business? Like, if we're talking to your audience, like, how have you really taken it and leveraged it to its full capacity? Because as I said before, Microsoft spent $26 billion on the product. Like, it's the biggest B2B search engine on the web. So are you using it to its full potential, or do you think you can get more out of it?
I think I'm close. They call me an all-star. Is that a good sign?
That's fantastic. That means everything on your profile's been filled out correctly, which is great.
I get little reviews from LinkedIn themselves. They think I'm great. Yep. But I just think I'm always learning. Yeah. They're adding things to it constantly,
it's really
isn't it? It's evolved
quick.
Since 2006. Like, it was a pretty basic platform.
Yep.
And it was, you know, I can't actually believe it's still free unless you go into the premium LinkedIn membership, which is I've done that, and really it lets you message people straight away, and that's good. If there's someone you really want to get to, then it's worth it. But you don't need that as such. But yeah, why are they not charging for this yet?
Look, it's giving you a fantastic organic reach, but that will change over time. Look at Facebook, it's all reduced out. All they want to do is get paid advertisers. But why LinkedIn's hot and it's giving you all that organic reach and exposure, just keep going for it. One thing I love being a fan of you and your show, every time you post a new podcast, I get notification because I've got the bell that they've just rolled out recently. So if I'm following your contact and I want to binge on your activity, then it's coming through. So LinkedIn's serving you up to me because I'm asking it to. That's the benefit of that, you know. So once you so it's very, very important who you connect with, because you will be served up their content by LinkedIn, because it really wants to keep you on the platform. LinkedIn doesn't want you to leave.
Yeah.
You know, so there's a big thing what happens with people in their main content posting. They would always do a link out. Well, LinkedIn doesn't want you to take anyone away from their party.
No, I've noticed that.
So if that's the case, if you've got a link out, just put it into your first comment and then say within the body of your text of your content piece, hey, there's a link in the comments, go there, because there's a bot that runs behind that main feed and it wants to suppress because it doesn't want anyone to leave. So it's really important. Another thing I've seen with a lot of people, that they would put multiple hashtags either sprinkled through or towards the end of their
I'm a hashtagger.
Yeah, you want to just do 3, okay, because it sort of serves up a bit more to the SEO. And what you do is you put...
How do you pick the best 3?
Well, just do 2 that's relevant to the post, and then 1 you can make your own one. Like, I've got hashtag Steve's View. So if someone wants to just binge on all my content, they'll just click on that, my personal tailored hashtag, and they get all my content. So with you might have one your own. So you just have a look that no one else has got it, and then you just make your own one up, and it could be Sandra's Tips, and then everyone just click on Sandra's Tips and they get a whole afternoon reading.
So as long as you've embedded that hashtag into whatever you've put on there,
Yep.
it'll bring it up.
That's right.
Wow.
And if no one else has got that, it's all your content. So it's really important to use that.
Wow.
There's also another feature on the mobile app that's really important, and that is a little QR code that you can actually go in and download from your phone. One of the best successes I've seen with that is people will put that, if they're doing a keynote speech and they would put onto their slide deck, they'll do their presentation and then they'll say to the audience of 300-400 people, hey, why don't you just click on that QR code, and when that speaker leaves, he'll get like 300 views of his profile or connection. So it's a great way of leveraging that little QR code that comes in your mobile app.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, got to be practical in these
Lots of little
sessions.
tricks, isn't there?
Yep.
So if you're a person and you've got a business, should the business have a LinkedIn profile as well, do you think?
Yes. You always want to have a personal profile first, and then secondary is your business profile to say that you are a business and that you're a credible entity. Also, people can they can share a lot of your activity on your company page through their LinkedIn content. So it's a good way of doing that. You've got your little work ninjas that can keep building your business profile, but definitely LinkedIn's a place where it's about you as a human first. One of the reasons that I've started working with Send Handwritten Cards is because we have this beautiful connect and appreciation handwritten cards by real humans that gets delivered out, and the idea is to get the attention of hard to reach people. Now, when those cards were going out and the recipient was opening them, they were like, oh, who's sending me the card? So they'd search on Google, and some people just wouldn't show up on the first page. So their credibility and authority wasn't a standout. So once we started doing profile optimization and getting their profiles indexed higher on Google, then they turned up with authority. They looked a bit more of a sage style of person. So that's one of the reasons that I've come into the company for Send Handwritten, to help that bridge the gap of how to be a standout, human and a personality and a brand personality.
And it's really all about personal brand, isn't it? Everything is now.
Yeah. Well, your branding used to just be with companies like, Red Bull, Nike and that, but since we've gone into influencer marketing, and people are just starting their own personal brand. That's why LinkedIn has been such a prominent feature with people in business, because their brand does show up and they're talking business. It's not like Instagram, which feels like a club.
That's it.
LinkedIn is business to business. It's the largest search engine. So it's really a good way. LinkedIn, your profile will always turn up before you will. So it's a good way of saying, showing someone that you've got great intent, you've got a great history of work experience, you've got phenomenal recommendations. So then people have the chance, they'll consider you. That's all they'll do. They'll just consider you more than someone that doesn't have a good profile.
Oh, absolutely. And you always do a bit of background check on someone, and it's first of all, it's LinkedIn, and second, it's Facebook, because you want to see what they're doing. So don't put anything on Facebook you don't want your boss to see, because they're going to check it out.
Perfect.
And also, the interesting thing is, if you Google your own name, the first thing that pops up is LinkedIn. Like, that is how powerful it is.
It is.
It's crazy. And if you don't have a LinkedIn account, then you are missing the boat. Like, there's something missing. You need to get onto it.
Now, in your industry, you've told me that some people just don't have them.
They don't.
Why is that? Like, don't they want to be found? Don't they want to have that authority when someone does search their name? Like, where is it sitting in your industry?
Well, it's interesting because the developers that I deal with don't touch it. So there is a certain group that, and it's usually because they're an older generation and, they don't even really use email, but things are changing. So the next generation that's coming through, the sons of the developers, for instance, will have a LinkedIn account. So you can still get to the person at the top. But it's, if you're not starting to do that. The other thing is the younger generation, the millennials, they think they don't need a LinkedIn because it's all about social media. So I don't think they see it as social media as such. So I've worked with cadets who I've told them, get your LinkedIn account sorted. And I'm not going to mention any names, Charlie, but just not listening. Just thinking that you don't need it, and it's something that old people in suits do, like me.
It's like anything. Someone else is going to turn up better and looking better. So, it depends on, with your personal brand, once again, it's like, how do you want to show up? Do you want to show up with authority, or do you want to show up that you're just a voice out there and someone has heard about you, but they're not really sure. So it's just really helps you position yourself in the market.
Absolutely. So should you use the LinkedIn events feature?
Yeah, one of the good things that LinkedIn events is doing some great activity with webinars. And more people should look at LinkedIn events for webinars. One of the greatest things with that is you can actually get a registration, a download CSV file of all people that have attended or registered for your event, so you can capture their name, address, and email. And as I said before, what you're trying to do is actually get people off the LinkedIn asset and into your email nurture campaign, so you can keep touching them with different campaigns and different offerings. So it's get people onto LinkedIn as your connection, then get them off into your CRM. That's one of the most important parts of that.
So you can actually set up a full webinar using LinkedIn?
Yep.
You can?
Yep.
Wow. Okay, so that's probably a podcast for another day on how to do that, because that sounds I'm not a techno kitty, and clearly there's probably a little bit to that. But
if you want to see who does it really well, Adam Houlihan /webinar. He just did one the other day. He's been doing them for quite a while, and he gets I think it's around about 4,000 registered, probably more, and he gets such a great viewing. And he's been doing them so long, but he has such a great lead in, about 10 weeks lead in. He has the email nurture campaign. He turns up and he does he hosts it really well. He does a post send out of the webinar recording. He just does it so well. So if you want to know who does it really well, have a look at Adam Houlihan /webinar. He does a great job.
I'm so going to join his next webinar. Thank you for that.
That's okay.
And so just wrapping up, what is your favourite thing about LinkedIn?
I love the authenticity in some of the posts I see. I love it that it can actually curate great relationships. I never see anyone do any good on LinkedIn if they're trying to connect and then sell straight away. I think that's a really bad play. I think what you want to try and do is connect with people, find commonality, and then serve them up as much value from your background and keep giving them exposure points. That's all it is to your genius. Over time, where you will be sending them happy birthday, congratulations messages over time, they will then consider, and I use this strongly, that they will consider that, hey, maybe we have got some commonality, and I've loved that you've been giving me value for so long that maybe there'd be a conversation that we can have. It's definitely about conversations. It's definitely about learning their business traits and just making sure that you're on LinkedIn to give your value and to give them your appreciation. There's a lot of things that are like a little kudos that you can send out. I've just done it recently to a few clients and just wanted to say, hey, you're changing the way you're doing business. It's fantastic. And just giving them some appreciation. We got to treat these products like it's humanizing, the internet, and it's really important because people are just getting so bogged down in this. I just want to sell. I just want to bring in, but you need to push out. You need to push out so much value and love and appreciation, and just go back to Ubuntu. It's called. It's like, you are so much better. My world is so much better with you in it.
Oh, that's lovely.
So
Ubuntu.
That's right. Yeah.
Perfect. And so for yourself, what's your secret sauce? What makes Steve Dart stand out apart?
Yeah, well, exactly that. I spend probably a couple of hours each day and I'm just living in people's comments and I'm giving them any tips and tricks I know to help them. I'm also thanking them for different things that they're bringing to the market. I spend a lot of time doing connection requests, and when I send a connection request and they connect with me, I then send them a little LinkedIn tip that's going to help them to increase their circulation or be viewed more. Everything about me is just pushing out value as much as I can. I'm never asking for anything, but if I ask, I'm sure that they'd be more than happy to say, hey, you've been so good over the years, since 2012, 10 years, that I'm sure that I'd get, most things that if I asked to be connected with someone else, it would happen.
Oh, that's an awesome way to do it. And how do people get in touch with you if they want some more information on their profile?
Yeah, just go into Steve Dart and I'll be on LinkedIn. So just say hi to me and connect with me.
Find you on LinkedIn like everybody else.
I just sit there with a whole screen just open all day, and I do most of my business on there. And the main thing is LinkedIn is only going to get bigger. They want to try and get 1 billion people on the platform. It's at 830 at the moment.
Wow.
830 million. So it's an exciting.
People.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. And as I said, I think in 2011 they had 100 million, and they thought, wow, we're in serious territory here.
Yes. Well, I was there.
Yes, you were. Yes, you were.
2006.
Yep.
That's crazy. All right. Well, thank you so much, Steve Dart. It was lovely chatting with you, and I hope our listeners have learnt something and go back to their LinkedIn profiles right now and start to pad them out and make them look fantastic. So again, if you want to get in touch with Steve, look up his LinkedIn profile, Steve Dart, and connect. He would love to talk to you and help you and optimize your profile. So that's it for episode 10. Thank you so much for listening. My name's Sandra Carter. You can find me on LinkedIn, of course, TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook under Sandra Carter Commercial Agent. Keep selling hard and smash that glass ceiling.